Hello everybody, this is your F1 2025 Mexico Grand Prix preview show. This is F1 Grandstand, and if you are an F1 fan, then you are in the right place. Please hit the like, the subscribe button, the bell button so you can stay up to date. It makes a huge difference to the success of the channel, and I am so grateful. So what we're going to be talking about on the show, we're going to be looking at the circuit. We're going to be talking about McLaren, what's been going on there. We're going to be talking about Carlos Sainz and his penalty. We've also got some news about Adrian Newey and what it's like to work with him. And we will be doing, of course, our top 5 predictions for the Grand Prix. We're going to be predicting who we think is going to be driver of the weekend, and of course who will be that dipstick of the weekend, who is going to have an absolute stinker. Now I want you to think about those and tell me in the chat, because I'll be coming to your driver of the weekend predictions, your dipstick of the weekend predictions, and of course your top 5 predictions for the Grand Prix. And we're going to be talking about all of it. So get them in the chat so I can see them. And then later in the show, I'll tell you mine and we will go through them. Welcome. Thank you everyone who's joined me. So where are we going to start? Well, let's start off with this fantastic circuit. The Autodromo Hermanas Rodriguez in Mexico. So this circuit, interesting. It's incredibly high, right? So that means downforce is incredibly low. And this is what you need to know about it. So the track length is just over 4.3 kilometers. The lap record, I'm going to come back to this one actually because it's a good question. The lap record is 1 minute 17 seconds. I'm going to come back to it because I'm going to ask you who you think did that. Most pole positions was by Jim Clark. If you're old enough to remember him, then I'm surprised you know how to use the internet. Most wins there, I'll ask you that in a second. Who do you think has had the most wins in Mexico City? The thing is, there's a massive reduction in air pressure in Mexico City. And so what that means is that in a straight line, these cars go very, very quick, but downforce is limited. And they're not that great at going around corners because you max out your downforce on your car, but people will struggle. People will struggle. So, and it gives you, I'm going to give you a funny stat. There is a safety car probability of 43% for the Grand Prix. And there is a virtual safety car probability of 71%. So does that mean we think that that is going to play a part of the Grand Prix? Yes. Why is there such a high chance of safety cars? Well, it's because this track has got no grip. It's a low downforce track, so yeah, people can't get around the corner, so there's a good chance people will end up in the gravel and spinning off, which probably isn't good news for Oscar Piastri. But that's your track. 2 DRS zones, here and here. Detection zone here, detection zone here. And so, yeah, there you go. It's going to be an interesting Grand Prix. Not really... Well, really, more than anything, if we talk about McLaren for a moment, well, I spoke about it yesterday's show. McLaren have come out and said that in Mexico, Oscar Piastri is going to struggle because Oscar Piastri is no good when it's a low grip track. And obviously, we've just had that in the United States, and now we've got it again in Mexico City. So they don't think Oscar's going to do that well, but I'll be interested to see what you think. Lando Norris doesn't seem to have a problem in that McLaren in the low grip track. He managed to get P2 in the United States, but it is quite remarkable that it's McLaren themselves who are saying that Oscar struggles on a low grip circuit. And because there's not that many races that happen in Mexico City, there isn't a lot of rubber down on that track. They're basically saying that don't expect Oscar to be quick. I mean, it's a stupid thing to come out from McLaren, right? Absolutely ridiculous to say about your driver. Like, pointing out his weakness is not a good thing to do, because does Oscar even agree with it? But what do you think that does to his mindset going into this Grand Prix, right? It's freaking crazy. McLaren themselves saying, Oscar struggles with low grip tracks. Well, but you're basically saying because Lando didn't in the United States, you're basically saying it's a skill gap, and you're basically saying that Lando had the skills and Oscar doesn't, and that's not true, right? I don't think I've never heard Oscar say in an interview, do you know what, guys, I really struggle on low grip circuits. I've never heard him say it. So if he's never said it, I'm pretty sure that Andrea Stella, Zach Brown, Reynolds and McLaren shouldn't be saying it either. Going into a Grand Prix when that's your driver who is currently leading the World Driver Championship and is under attack by mighty Max Verstappen, who's doing the comeback of all comebacks. It seems crazy. So McLaren are going to have to sort that out going into this Grand Prix. But what do I actually think about McLaren? I think they've got even though they're not bringing any upgrades whatsoever to that car between now and the end of the season, it's still a pretty well balanced car. So I expect the car to be okay, if I'm honest, okay in Mexico. But that doesn't mean I don't think Mighty Max is going to, take him to school, because quite honestly, I think he will. Mighty Max is on the most almighty charge, right? And the biggest reason why I think McLaren are not going to beat Max Verstappen is because is that Red Bull are still bringing upgrades. The team are still fully behind Max Verstappen to help him win the World Driver Championship. Even Helmut Marko himself said, we have got another good upgrade coming to that Red Bull. And if it's as good as that new floor that they brought in Monza, then Max all the way, right? But like I said earlier, if you just joined us, welcome to the show. Think about your top 5 predictions, get in the chat and let me know what they are. Sorry, I had the wrong setting on my chat. Hey guys, hey Kyle, hey Gemma, hey Destroyed Television, you're all with us, that's what we like. I love that. Sorry, I had the wrong setting on my chat, I didn't see any of your chat. Thank you, welcome to the chat. Have you been thinking about your top 5 predictions for the Grand Prix? Have you been thinking about your driver of the weekend? Have you been thinking about your dipstick of the weekend? Get them in the chat because we'll be coming to those later in the show. I'm just going to quickly catch up. Kyle, so Destroy Television says, Tony hinting at Lance being a dipstick with a thumbnail image today. I'm not. Listen, I'm going to give you a spoiler alert. Lance Stroll is not going to be my dipstick of the weekend. He's not. I put Lance Stroll on there because I've got some updates on some news about what it's like to work with Adrian Newey and what's going on at Aston Martin. So that's why Lance Stroll is on my thumbnail. I'm not going with the easy target. Lance Stroll is not going to be my dipstick of the weekend, but you have to wait to find out who it is going to be. Kyle says that means Stroll, Yuki, or both will crash. Yes. Kyle says, I think McLaren ran out of tyre water. McLaren has shifted their focus to 26. Zach doesn't care about the driver's championship. I know. It's true, right? How can Oscar defend his position, or Lando, when they basically said no more upgrades for the McLaren? When Red Bull have said, well, it's not even Red Bull. It is Red Bull, but what I mean is, but the person who has basically said it to the press that we have got a major upgrade coming is Helmut Marko, the Dark Lord himself, basically said to the press in Austin, Texas, said, yeah, we do still have developments and upgrades for the car, and we've got one significant upgrade still to come, because Helmut Marko is backing Max Verstappen because he doesn't want Max Verstappen to leave to go anywhere else in 27. So Helmut Marko is literally bending over backwards to get Max everything he could possibly need to win the World Drivers' Championship, and he also lets him go off and drive in the endurance racing because, he's not stupid. They need him. So yeah, that's how we know. And we also know that Zach Brown has basically said, no more upgrades. So if you've got a team that will not back your driver for the last 5 races because you're only focused on 26, and then you've got Max Verstappen with the team who are saying, hey, Max, we know you want this World Drivers' Championship. We want the World Drivers' Championship. We will go hell for leather to help you get it. Well, what does that say? So I will be talking about Max a little bit later when it comes to my driver predictions. But that's what's going on at McLaren. McLaren are in trouble. Oscar is in dire straits. 4 terrible Grand Prix. His own team saying he can't drive at Mexico. It's not going to be a good result for him. But what does that mean for his mentality? Are we going to see Oscar come out and prove everybody wrong and show everyone that, yeah, I can drive on a low grip circuit. I can put this car P1 and I can take this World Driver Championship by the scruff of the neck and I will win it, because Mexico's it's a huge Grand Prix for the World Drivers' Championship. And I mean huge. It's a big one. If Oscar can pull something out of the bag and prove his own team wrong that he can drive on a low grip circuit and out-qualify Lando and put that car P1, well, then I think he'll shut a lot of people up. And I think then McLaren have to back him. They have to then put Lando in that supporting role to help Oscar win the World Drivers' Championship and help block the attack from Max Verstappen. Because I think if it was the other way around, and Lando was winning the World Drivers' Championship, I get a feeling that already would have asked Oscar to play that supportive role. That's what I think. That is what I think. So I'll be coming to my top 5 positions in just a moment. But I need to talk a little bit about my man Carlos Sainz. So Carlos Sainz, brilliant what he's done in that Williams recently. To be fair, he's absolutely had a resurgence, hasn't it? In the last 3 race weekends, Carlos Sainz has scored 22 points, where in all of the previous 16 race weekends, he'd only scored 17 points. That is an incredible turnaround for Carlos Sainz. Unfortunately for him, because of his collision with Kimi Antonelli in Austin, Texas, he was awarded a 10-second penalty, which he couldn't actually serve in that Grand Prix. So that's passed over to Mexico City, and he's got a 5-place grid penalty. So no matter where Carlos qualifies, he will have to serve a 5-place grid penalty. And it gets worse. They've also given him 2 penalty points for his super license as well. I don't think he cares too much about that, but he has been awarded 10 penalty points. But Carlos Sainz, what a turnaround, right? He was really taken to school by his teammate Alexander Albon for the first half of this season. And then since Baku, where he qualified P2 and finished and got the first podium for Williams and finished P3, we've seen a new Carlos Sainz. And this is great news because coming through to the end of this season, it's really setting him up for 2026 with this massive regulation change. Williams will be running the Mercedes power unit. Their focus has really been actually certainly for the second half of the season on that 2026 car. And I just think it's great news because I really like Carlos Sainz and I think he's a great driver. And the reason why I wanted to mention him is because Carlos Sainz was the last winner at Mexico City in a Ferrari in 2024. So he will be starting with a 5-place grid penalty, but it's a track he likes. We might even see Carlos Sainz put in a driver of the weekend performance, even though we have to serve that 5-place grid penalty. But special mention for Carlos Sainz. And I tell you who else gets special mentions. Special mentions for these guys. As you know, we've got 9 F1 rookies taking part in Mexico in FP1. And I want to tell you who those drivers are. So McLaren have got Pato O'Ward in for Lando Norris in FP1. He's finished second in the IndyCar Championship. He's a good driver, to be fair. He is a good driver, and he's getting a drive for McLaren in FP1. We've also got Antonio Fuoco. I have to be careful how I say that. He's in the Ferrari, in Lewis Hamilton's Ferrari, in FP1. He's going to be getting his an outing. Red Bull have got Arvid Lindblad in for Max Verstappen, and we all know Arvid Lindblad is pretty much nailed on for a seat. Well, I say that. They keep penduluming at the Red Bull camp. Helmut Marko sort of let it slip a couple of times that Arvid Lindblad is the guy they want in that Racing Bulls seat next year. It's just he dropped off in F2. He had such a strong first half of the season in F2 and then just dropped away. He was competitive, but he is getting an FP1 drive. Mercedes have got Frederick Vesti, who's going to be in for George Russell. He's going to be making an appearance in FP1. He failed to get an opportunity in Formula One when he finished runner-up in F2 in 2023, which is always a shame. If you finish second in the F2 Championship, you don't get an opportunity. But he's in Mercedes, in the Mercedes, George Russell's Mercedes for FP1. Aston Martin, this is an interesting one. Jack Crawford in for Lance Stroll in FP1. Now, Jack Crawford's having a great season in F2, currently sits second. He's got a chance of winning the whole championship. He's going to be driving for Cadillac next year as their reserve driver. It's great to see him. It's his first time in a Formula One car, actually. So in FP1, so very excited to see that. Alpine have got Paul Aron in for Pierre Gasly. Now that's interesting because Paul Aron is really competing with Franco Colapinto for that second Alpine seat in 2026. So it'd be great to see what he can do in FP1. Haas have got how do I say this? Ryo Hirakawa. He's in for Oliver Behrman. He was with Alpine. He switched to Haas. He's getting a run out in FP1. Racing Bulls have also got Ayumi Iwasa in for Liam Lawson. Yeah, he's pretty quick. And then we've got Williams. We've got Luke Browning in for Carlos Sainz. I mentioned Carlos Sainz a little earlier. Luke Browning having a good season in F2. Good driver. Interesting to see how well he goes in that Williams in FP1. So 9 rookies hitting the grid. Hitting the grid in Mexico. And it's always interesting to see how they do in FP1. It's just some of these drivers we might see next year. Some we might not. But yeah, Kyle Melson says Gasly, if his car doesn't get wrecked in FP1. What's this? Oh, you're getting your predictions in. Brilliant. So Destroy Television's got his predictions in. Kyle says Red Bull has to bring upgrades for Max so they can try to get second in the constructors. Absolutely true. Big battle there. Teams are battling it out. There are only between 4th place Red Bull Racing and 2nd place Mercedes. There's 10 points in it in the constructors. So Red Bull Racing are 3 points behind Ferrari, and Ferrari are 7 points behind Mercedes. 10 points in it. So all those constructors battling it out for P2, and it makes a big difference to their prize money as well. So they'd all prefer to get P2, obviously. So yeah, Red Bull obviously do want that P2 in the constructors. They might need to get Yuki helping out with some points if they want to do that. And this is funny. Kyle's mentioned something. How many rookies hit the wall? Yeah, that's a good bet. Out of the 9 rookies in FP1, how many of them hit the wall? Put it in the gravel. DT says special edition prediction, rookies hitting the wall. Yeah, I'm interested to know how many you think will hit the wall. So DT says 2 rookies will hit the wall in Mexico. The thing is, it's a funny track to do it on because Mexico has got one of the highest top speeds out of all the circuits and lowest grip. That seems like a bit of a disaster for rookies, if you ask me. So yeah, it's not really the ideal track for the rookies to be showing us what they're made of. Because yeah, it's all cars will be running maximum downforce. It's because the altitude of the track is so high that the air is so thin. It's very, very hard to get downforce. Yeah, exactly, Kyle. Why put rookies out on a low downforce track? I reckon DT's prediction of 2 rookies hitting the wall is probably pretty good. Probably pretty good. Now, and just before we get into my predictions, I wanted to also talk very quickly about some news coming out from Aston Martin. So, if you didn't know, Enrico Cardill has joined Aston Martin as their chief technical officer. He was obviously a bigwig over at Ferrari, and he's been talking about what it's like to work with Adrian Newey. Adrian Newey doesn't do a lot of interviews, really. He doesn't chat too much. He's just been getting on with building the best that car he can for 2026. And this is what he said. So Cardle spoke about working with Adrian Newey for the first time. He said, yeah, Adrian is a mix of 2 things that make him unique. On the one hand, he's a very, very bright, outstanding engineer and a very, very bright mind. On the other hand, there's a long experience gained when F1 teams were made up of just a few people. We're talking about the 90s, right? And the technology to support the development was not as much as we have now. So he develops his career with the technology available for developing the car, being all the time on top of this technology. Talking with him is like talking to a modern F1 team. It's like talking at the same time with the chief designer, the vehicle dynamics expert in just one person. So you find so many different skills which are unique. Now you got to remember, Adrian Newey is the MVP, the most valuable person in Formula One. What was it? 14 World Constructors titles to his name. And he said, if I have to mention one thing about Adrian Newey, it's how uncompromised he is, how driven he is for achieving his goal without making any compromise anywhere, pushing all the staff regardless of the magnitude to perfection. Now, I've heard this about Adrian Newey. He is obsessive over design detail. Like, you know, a tenth of a tenth of a tenth, right? Crazy. But that is why he's the greatest car designer in the world. And he also goes on to say, so this gives me quite confidence in my prediction that Adrian Newey is building a world beater of an Aston Martin for 2026. But he also goes on to say about what his role in the team is. And he mentions Honda, which I think is fascinating. He says, personally, since I joined, this is about Cardle, I'm focusing my attention on the chassis. So just marginally, I'm seeing what Honda is doing. And from what I see, I'm surprised by the commitment and the aggressive approach they have. They are very open to collaborating and satisfying the request we have on the chassis side. So my focus is so far, I would say, on the chassis development rather than on the power unit. But he says because Honda are really only supplying, well, are only supplying Aston Martin, he said it's an absolute positive because they just follow and satisfy our request. They don't need to find any compromise with different requests. And on the other hand, I guess they can push a bit more in development because having to provide power units just to one team, the quantities are lower than having multiple teams. I guess it's allowing them to push more for development. So what he's basically telling us without telling us anything is that Honda are on the ball and they are giving not only a fantastic power unit, it's almost because they're only supplying Aston Martin with a power unit, they are so working hand in glove. There are zero compromises in design on how to integrate that power unit into the Aston Martin chassis. So it all sounds like what's going on at Aston Martin is becoming very, like we said, they are putting together a package for 2026 that is going to be mind-blowing. It is very exciting. So anyway, I just wanted to fill you in on that. But now it's time for what we've all been waiting for. I'm going to start my top 5 predictions. I'm going to start my top 5 and then I'm going to go to the chat and have a look at yours. So my top 5, coming in at number 1, I'm going with Mighty Max is on his way. Yeah, Mighty Max. How can you not think that Mighty Max Verstappen isn't going to win in Mexico? The team are bringing upgrades. Max is on fire. He's frothing at the mouth. He smells blood in the water and he is gunning for McLaren, and he is stirring the pot with his comments. He's literally doing the mental game with Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri, stirring up the drama at McLaren. So yeah, Mighty Max P1 all day long, baby. I think he'll qualify P1 and I do think he's going to win the race. P2. It pains me to say this. I don't want it to be this. But I'm going to go with Lando Norris. I'm still rooting for Piastri to pull something out of the bag, but I do feel that Piastri's had 4 bad races, and I just think that after the comments and all the pressure the team have put him under, I think it's going to be hard for him. So I think Lando Norris, considering he has been taking Piastri to school with his qualifying performances over the last few races and also his race pace, I'm going to go Lando Norris. P2. Yeah, that's just what I think. Sorry, Oscar. I'll take it if I'm wrong, but that's what I think. Now, we've got P3. This might shock a few people. I'm going to give P3 George Russell. I think that Mercedes is going to do all right. I think it's going to do okay in Mexico. I do. George Russell, he seems to have been able to find a bit of pace out of this Mercedes recently. Maybe it's that 30 million he's got paid, but I think George Russell's going to do okay. I mean, I know in Austin, you know, he qualified P4, lost 2 places, P6, but I've got a feeling that he's going to. I've got a feeling that he's going to do well. I don't know what it is. I'm going to go George Russell P3. I could be way wrong, but I'm going George Russell P3. My P4 is Piastri. I think Piastri's going to come in P4. I would love him to prove me wrong and just win the whole thing, because I want to, you know, I would like that to happen, but I don't. I think my heart tells me he's going to be P4. Having a little sip of my tea. Now my P5, this one's definitely going to shock you, because I'm going with a Ferrari and I'm going with Lewis Hamilton. I think Lewis is going to beat Leclerc. Now, I've said this a couple of times this season, and I have been proven wrong multiple times, but I think this is the one. I do. I think Lewis Hamilton is going to finish P5. And I think Leclerc's going to be P6 for what it's worth. I think this is the one. I think Hamilton is going to be P5. So that's my 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'm going to come to the chat and quickly have a look at your 1, 2, 3, 4 to 5. So I'm going to scroll back and see. Okay, DT. He's gone P1 Max, same as me. P2 Lando, same as me. P3 Leclerc. Okay, I'll give you that. I might be wrong with my Hamilton's going to beat Leclerc this time around, but P3 Leclerc. P4 Russell. I obviously had Russell P3. You've got P5. Well, you agree with me about Piastri, so you're saying that Lando's going to beat him. I feel the same way, DT. I feel the same way. Okay, so we're close. We both think Max. All right, let's go to Kyle. Kyle says Max P1. Yeah. We're all saying Max P1. You can't overlook him, can you? He's frothing at the mouth. He's like a rabid dog. He smells blood in the water and he's going for those points. You've got Russell P2. Love the ambition on that one. Love that. Okay, Russell P2. Leclerc P3, same as DT. Norris P4. Gasly P5. That's punchy. In the Alpine, that is punchy. I hope if that prediction comes in, I'll be well impressed. I'll be well impressed. But hang on, if Gasly gets P5, surely he would get your driver of the weekend. If you've got my driver of the weekend, Sainz, I do think that is a good choice. I think Sainz, like I said, winner there 2024. He's got a 5-place grid penalty. He could do something quite remarkable. Yeah, I think that's a good shout. Colapinto. Colapinto is your dipstick. So you're going Colapinto as your dipstick. Fair enough. Good choice. Then we're going to go to Gemma. Gemma, P1 Max. Everyone's going P1 Max, right? All right, P1 Max. You're going P2, Charles Leclerc. That's punchy. That's pretty punchy. P3 George, I've got that. P4 Lewis. So I tell you what, two Ferraris in the top 5. That'll be good for Ferrari again, I tell you, for their constructors title, their constructors championship points scoring weekend. P5 Lando. All right, so you think, where's Piastri in that? You've not got Piastri in. You've not even got Piastri in the top 5, Gemma. Wow, you're thinking Piastri's going to have a mare. Okay. Driver of the weekend, you're going with Charles Leclerc. Dipstick of the weekend, Yuki. Special edition. I love the special editions in there. 3 crashes from the rookies. All right, special edition. 3 crashes from the rookies. I know, DT. Gemma is ruthless. She's totally dropped Piastri out. Literally dropped him out of the top 5. I'm impressed. I love it. I love it, Gemma. All right. I like your 3 rookies as well. Kyle's gone with 3 rookies as well. DT's gone with 2 rookies. All right. So I'm going to tell you who my driver of the weekend prediction is. My driver of the weekend prediction, none of you have gone with the same one. Because I thought he did brilliantly in Austin, I had him as my dipstick of the day prediction. I'm going with rookie Oliver Behrman. He's my driver of the weekend prediction. I think he's going to do it. Because that Haas, under his whilst he's driving, he's really taken Ocon to school. Ocon, you would expect to have done really well. Because he started off the season so well and he was doing so well in the driver over performance index. But Oliver Bearman he's found some pace in that house. I don't know why. It's a Ferrari. It's the Poundland Ferrari, right? The bargain budget Ferrari, as we all know, Ferrari engine, parts from the Ferrari parts bin. But somehow Ollie Bearman is making it score points, whereas Esteban Ocon is right at the back. So yeah, Ollie Bearman's my prediction for driver of the weekend. And I've got the same dipstick of the weekend prediction as, I think it was as Kyle. Yeah, I've gone with my dipstick of the weekend. I've gone with Franco Colapinto, and let me tell you why. Not because he crashes a lot, not because, hey, Daily Focus, welcome to the chat. I've gone with Franco Colapinto as my dipstick of the weekend. Not because he crashes a lot, even though he does. Not because, he's slow. It's because in Austin, Texas, he disobeyed team orders. And for me, I'm thinking if he's prepared to go against Flavio Briatore when he's not even confirmed his drive for 2026, and when the team tell him stay behind Pierre Gasly for P18, and he's gone, nah, I'm going past him. I think he's got. I think he's gonna. There's something in his brain where in Mexico I think he's just living by his own rules. I think he's just gonna go out there, try too hard, and do some crazy shit. So that's what I think. So Franco Colapinto is gonna be my dipstick. Is going to be my dipstick of the weekend. Hey, Daily Focus. Yeah, you've still got time to get your predictions in. Your 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 for the race, your driver of the weekend prediction, and your dipstick of the weekend prediction. Yeah, Gemma says no ducks given Franco. Exactly, it's true. He just, and Flavio Briatore doesn't strike me like the type of man that you want to go, nah, I'm not listening to team orders, Flavio. I think he'd go freaking ballistic in his early days, back in the 90s when he's running Benetton and Renault. I think he would have thrown you off his boat. You know what I mean? He's got that kind of Don Colahone about him. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I think he would have thrown you off his boat. So Cal says, I think rookie Colapinto shouldn't be using champions Max and Alonso as his mentors in regards to not following team orders. Yeah, you've got to earn the right, okay? If you want to not follow team orders, you have got to earn that right. If you're Lewis Hamilton and you're a 7-time world champion and you decide to not follow team orders, all right, you might have a conversation about it. But in your rookie season, when you've not got a drive for 2026 and the only option on the table is Alpine giving you that drive, and you go against team orders when it's not even for points, it's P18 is insanity. If you get a sudden rush to the head, if it's like to score big points, you've not scored any points all season, Franco. Not one. Nil point. Pierre Gasly's scored 20 points in the Alpine car. You haven't scored any. You are literally the bottom of the bottom. You have not got the right to disobey team orders, ever. If they tell you to go and pick up the rubbish off the garage floor, you go and do it. That's your level, right? That is your level at the moment. You need to earn it. So I do think Franco's got it in him to do some crazy shit, like even crash into Pierre Gasly. So he's my prediction. Dipstick of the weekend for me is going to be Franco Colapinto. I love this. So let me just go back to yours. So we've got Daily Focus. Where's your predictions? Top 5, Piastri. Top 5, winner Alonso. You think Fernando Alonso is going to win? Hey, if he does, I'm here for it. Or do you think Fernando Alonso is going to win your driver of the weekend? To be fair, if he wins the Mexico Grand Prix, he gets everybody's driver of the weekend. I mean, unbelievable result that would be. But so nobody picked Stroll, did they? Who picked Stroll? Yeah. So Destroy Television, his driver of the weekend. I'm going to go to this now. So Destroy Television, I'm going to pick up on your dipsticks and drivers. So Destroy Television's driver of the weekend, Alonso. Good choice. Alonso, You know, scoring points in the Aston Martin. Can the Aston Martin do well? Low downforce track, quick in a straight line. Maybe they can do well there. So yeah, Alonso, driver of the weekend. Good choice, that one, DT. And dipstick. We'll keep it PG-13. Dipshit of the weekend. Dipstick of the weekend, I think you mean. Lance Stroll. I knew someone was going to pick Lance Stroll. Who else has picked Lance Stroll? Gemma, who did you choose? Who did Gemma choose for? Oh, Gemma chose Yuki. Another popular choice. So Gemma's chose Dipstick of the weekend, Yuki. Charles Leclerc for driver of the weekend. All right, good choices. And 3 rookie crashes. Who else have we got? Yeah, that's right, Yuki. Oh yeah, Gemma's mentioned it in the chat actually. I thought it was interesting. Red Bull have got a new sponsor, by the way. Big news. Red Bull got a new sponsor for Brazil. Can you guess who it is? McDonald's. So, and it got me thinking. That's like the most unhealthy dinner ever. I'm gonna have a McDonald's and a Red Bull. Right? Do you know what I mean? Yeah, healthy drinks and dining. So their new sponsor is McDonald's. It's literally the most unhealthy dinner ever. And when I think of unhealthy dinners, it gets me thinking about this man. Is he doing some subliminal message? Eat McDonald's, children. Drink Red Bull. Ooh, Dark Lord Helmet Marco. I shouldn't do that. I'm only joking, Helmet. I know you're a big fan. I know you're a big fan of the show. I know it's not you behind all of this. I'm only joking. But yeah, that's true. Big new sponsor in Brazil. They're going to run some sort of promotion to do with McDonald's, with the Red Bull Formula One team. Maybe McDonald's will start selling Red Bull. Who knows? But that is coming at Brazil. Oh, do you see that? I've got one of them tea. No, I've got them fancy teas where you keep the tea bag in. No chokes on it. It's nice though. It's like a cinnamon apple. It's almost like an apple pie tea. It's very, very nice. But yeah, that's what's to come. The partnership of a lifetime. McDonald's will be joining Red Bull. Destroy Television says, nah, partner with Pornhub and call it Horn Pub Racing. Jesus, you're lowering the tone, DT. Lowering the tone. I know. I'm not even sure what the regulations are and what. You know what? You're not allowed to advertise cigarettes on cars anymore, which is a shame. Only for the one reason that the John Player Special Lotus is the best livery on any Formula One car ever. Challenge me on it. The best livery on a Formula One car to ever exist was the John Player Special Lotus F1 car. It was the best. But I'm not sure I want Ronald McDonald livery on a Formula One car. I mean, crazy. He wants a McDonald's livery on the car. It's not good. It's not what you want, is it? But anyway, there you go. That's your top news of the day. McDonald's and Red Bull teaming up. So there you go. That is your Mexico Grand Prix preview show. Now, obviously, we will be doing watch-alongs, FP1, FP2, qualifying and the race. So do join me for those. A bit of a late night in the UK, actually. Everything's around sort of like 10 o'clock in the evening. So DT will be happy. Normal times for DT over in America. I'll be up late. So make sure you join me because, I need some company for these watch-alongs. Because it's going to be a late night. So yes, make sure you hit the bell. So on the channel, so you know when we're going live. Please smash a like on the video. It makes a big difference to the success of the channel. I'm really, really grateful to each and every one of you. Thank you so much to Gemma, Destroy Television, to Kyle, to Will. Who else have we had? Daily Focus. Yeah, thank you so much for joining me on the show. I will be back tomorrow for those live streams for Mexico. Any breaking news, obviously, do keep an eye out for that. I will do a video or a live stream during the day. And that's it. Do enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you so, so much for watching. I'll see you all tomorrow. Ta-ta.